Okay, welcome to the first episode of the Dogs Run Free podcast. I'm Michael Doherty, and as it is the first episode, I wanted to just give a brief introduction as to why the hell I'm doing this. I started my music blog a little more than a decade ago because I kept hearing people tell me that the music industry was terrible and there was just nothing good coming out. Something that I strongly disagreed with. I think there's more good music now than maybe ever before, but you have to look for it. And that was why I started the music blog, to let people know about some of the great stuff they might have otherwise been missing. And the podcast is called Dogs Run Free because I had a radio program up in Oregon in the 90s at KWVA called Dogs Run Free, named after the End Construction song, and it just felt fitting to use that name again. All right, so first episode, we'll be talking with Kyle Spleiss, a singer, songwriter, guitarist based here in Los Angeles. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, man. Thanks for, asking me to be the first one on that first episode. The intro was great. I agree. I think the fun part is going out and finding the music. There's a lot of great stuff that I'm excited about that I'm finding these days.
And there's a lot of good stuff locally. LA has just a really great music scene.
Yeah.
I'm finding.
I'm finding stuff more like a lot of Ohio stuff. There's a label out there that I'm like obsessed about. Same thing like out in New York. It's more of that kind of early 70s analog vibe. But there's a couple bands in LA that I'm starting to listen to that's got that, the late 60s kind of East LA kind of soul. Yeah, that was Teddy. I don't know if you heard that. He was like, "Yeah, you're not giving me a treat. I'm leaving."
The cat will not be interviewed today.
The cat does not run free.
So the first record that I heard of yours was the Cutty album.
Yeah.
So self-titled album, but not under your name, under the name Cutty. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about where that name came from.
For the longest time, I always had names for bands. Like, I never used my first name. And Cutty is, I don't know, it was always a Teddy's saying it best. It was always a slang term for, like, you don't want to go in that neighborhood, it's Cutty down over there, like, gotta go through like the little Cutty areas. And I don't know, it just that's kind of the vibe I wanted to go for with that album.
So a little bit of danger, a little bit of
raw.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's from like the punk rock background of all the music I listened to growing up. What else? I'm sorry, Teddy's distracting me.
No, speaking of punk rock, because the album has mostly original material, but there's one cover, and that's a Ramones song, which is interesting because the vibe of the thing is definitely has that sort of raw 70s country rock kind of with the band and some of that kind of stuff, and so you don't think of punk so much, but the version on there is fantastic. How did you choose the Ramones? The Pet Cemetery is the song.
Yeah, Pets. How did I choose that one? I think for that album, I really didn't have a backing band. It was me calling friends to like help out with recording it. So we quickly maybe spent like 3 or 4 days just like rehearsing the entire album before we started recording it, and that was a riff that I had, and it was one of those moments in the studio. I think it was, there used to be a rehearsal spot that was across the street from the Zebulon Cafe, but I think now is like a music school for children, like a kids music school. But it was this nice, only like 3-room spot, and we were there by ourselves. And I think was playing this riff, and then I didn't have any lyrics for it at the time, and I jokingly just started singing Pet Cemetery. And Steve, it was on drums, he goes like, dude, like, he was the one that was like, we got to do that. But I think at the time it was more of a slower song, and then when I came back, I changed it again and made it more of that, like, the funky kind of rock riff that I have on it. I forget what the almost, when I played it acoustically, it's kind of got that Neil Young vibe to it.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. And that's how that came about. And then I saw how fun that was, and was like, now I'm taking songs and trying to do new arrangements while singing the lyrics. It's actually a lot of fun. Because then when you play it, no one really recognizes it. And then when you start to hear the lyrics, you can see their reaction in the audience, like, oh, holy shit.
And then you put Cutty out on vinyl.
Yeah, that was kind of the main goal for years. I've always wanted to put stuff out on vinyl. Maybe 10 years ago, my buddy Bo and I, we had a project called Milbury Brothers, and it was just like a 2-piece, and we put out a 7-inch, and like the first side, like, we've fit like 5 30-second songs on one side, and then the following side was just one like 4-minute song. But I always wanted to do a 12-inch, and saved up enough money doing all that PA work, and yeah,
it's fitting for that record to be on vinyl because it has that kind of, like, it just feels right on vinyl. It has that warm feel to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, that's maybe one of the first time where how it sounded while we were tracking the album is how it sounded on the record, and like, I'm extremely happy with how everything turned out in that one.
And then the next thing was Ghost in the Valley. Is that right?
Yeah.
That came out last year? Or that was...
Yeah, I put it was like the end of last year, maybe like October or March. Like, we recorded in 2022, and again, that was only that one was even more like, no one knew what the songs were, and kind of rehearsing it like as we were recording it. So it took a little longer, took a couple more takes than normal. But I wanted to do it as live as possible, and then from recording it to releasing it on tape, couldn't afford the vinyl anymore.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because you went from, but you didn't go to CD, you went to cassette.
Yeah, I sent it to some friends of mine, and one got back to me going like, I'm in love with this record. I want to put it out on my label. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm absolutely, let's do it. Let's put it on the tape. And yeah, the tapes, it just happened very fast, and I'm actually really happy with how it sounds on tape. When you play it through, it sounds even, gives it a little more lo-fi-ness to it.
Yeah.
That makes it sound also kind of as raw, kind of.
So does that label only put out cassettes? That's the idea from that?
I may be wrong, but I want to say yes. I think he does only put out cassettes, but I don't know if that's the right answer.
It's interesting because there's a lot of nostalgia for vinyl, and we've seen a resurgence in it. I don't know if there's as much with cassettes. I know people that collect movies on video cassette for some reason.
The VHSs.
Yeah, the VHS.
Cassette. My cassette player died, so I don't have my own cassette player right now. My father-in-law gave me his cassette player. Like, he's like, oh, you need a cassette player? And he gave me his, he had a Technics, like, double-headed one. And then I pressed play, and it played for like 5 seconds and then stopped, and then that died on me. So I had to go over to Jason Heller, who was the engineer and played bass on both albums. Played it on his cassette. I had to sit in his studio and listen to it on cassette for me to be like, this actually sounds awesome. This sounds great.
There's a definite band influence in a song like Big Whiskey Mama, and then the vocal approach and the overall sound, and then in Sandbox, the beginning of it, there's a definite like Marvin Gaye, Let's Get It On kind of a thing with the guitar.
Yeah, that's actually I looped. I found a song and I looped like the intro, like the first 30 seconds of it.
Oh.
So it's actually a loop, and then I added the guitar part this guitar part that's over it. I play that over the loop and the bass. I think it's been a minute since I played it. So yeah, it's half sampling this. It's called I really, really, really. I think it's like 3 or 4. Really love you. I need to find the name of the band. And then, just while we were recording my part, Steve was like, "Oh, can I just sit on the drums real quick?" And then he does all these fills at the end of the song that make it amazing. Yeah, Father's Children is the band, and it's I Really, Really Love You. Like the song, the original song is 20 times better than what I did with it. But I just loved how it sounded. So yeah, that was my first time like messing around with sampling and recording over that.
And then so now you're about to start recording a new album, and from what you were saying before, that you're taking a different approach, that you're presenting the songs before you would sort of present sort of fully developed songs to the band members and have them do their parts, but now you're getting a little more feedback from them during the process. Is that correct?
Yeah, in the past I've never really thought about it until now, but I would bring fully developed songs, and previous bands that guys I would play with, I would bring their parts to them to show them. And then these last 2 albums was something similar, where I would bring a fully realized song to them. And it was on the Cutty album where I don't think I met the lead guitarist, Dan Marks. I met him at school, at film school, and he taught me how to like just jam with somebody. Just like I realized I never did that years before. It was always like we're playing songs that someone already has written or one that I brought to the table. But with Dan, it was more of like learning to listen and follow along. And he started adding his voice into it, and that was kind of like the beginning of me going, okay, I don't need to have it fully realized. And then there's a horn section. I've never done horns before, and the guy that we found to play horns for us, he was like, well, then, do me a favor, just, record yourself being the trumpet over the songs and kind of give me what you're thinking. Because I would always say, like, I kind of want the horns to sound like, an Ann Peebles record, like not too crazy, but like, nice little thoughts here and there. And he was like, just send me what you're thinking. And when he came back with the sax and the trumpet stuff, it was like, wow, he kind of like took what I did and made it 20 times better. And he's in a band, this great LA band. I don't know if you Jungle Fire.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to say Coal Mine Records put out their last album.
I don't think I have it. I've heard the name, but I haven't seen this band.
They're amazing. It's kind of like
but the jamming has become, at least from the shows that I've seen of you, it's an aspect of the shows too.
Yeah, and that was new to me too. With when I finished Ghost in the Valley, my Steve, who helped produce it and plays drums on it, he lives in San Francisco, so it wasn't going to really work out to try to like have him come down all the time to play shows and stuff. So I had to like kind of look for local backing bands. And Jason, he's busy engineering and doing his thing that he couldn't fully commit either. So I was lucky enough to find a group of guys who were down to play the music. And once we started rehearsing Ghost in the Valley, like from the album to the live stuff, it definitely morphed into more of like a a jammy, spacey type of group, which I fucking loved it. And so now I want to like try to capture that in a bottle and make another album of it. And so these new stuff that I've written, that I'm bringing unrealized stuff to the group, mainly like I got a pocket full of riffs and I don't know where they go.
How far are you getting the song before you present it to them?
I mean, I'll record. I kind of just record myself on the phone, just like noodling around, and then when I listen back, I'll pick and choose stuff that I like, and then maybe then I'll record myself playing that riff again and trying to figure out like a hook, a verse, a bridge.
So the music is coming first then, the hooks and the...
Yeah, the sequencing, the music, the riffs are all coming first, and then I'm bringing that, and then Teddy will let me know if he likes it or not. My thing is like if he's still hanging around talking to me while I'm playing the riffs, then I think he's into it. If he walks away like he is now, just that's when I go, okay, I need to find a new one. But then I also go, like, I also dig for new music to be inspired to, or that and new music to just play on the speakers and just kind of jam with, like listen along, try to find a space where I could play guitar.
Yeah.
And so where I'm at now with the group is just trying to coordinate to get everyone in the same room. And the last time we played, it was just like, 3 hours of just jamming on these riffs. And now I'm listening back to those recordings and going, okay, I like this riff. We should probably not play it for 7 minutes straight. Like, I need to cut it. It needs to go somewhere. That was one thing Dan taught me too. It was like, he would always ask, like, this riff is great, but where's it going? And then, so it's then trying to figure out if I can combine stuff or take it apart. And then once I get the full sequence together, then I need to start coming up with lyrics. That's the hard part.
Are you gonna involve the bandmates in the lyrics too, or that'll be just you?
I have no idea. Did you ever see Some Kind of Monster?
No.
The Metallica documentary?
No, I haven't. I have not seen that yet.
There's a scene where they're talking about that, like, for years Mitch kept his lyrics under wrap and wouldn't share, and no one was allowed to like write lyrics as well. And so that album, for that documentary, everyone's taking turns like throwing lyrics ideas out. I mean, I'm open to it. I realize when it comes to lyrics, if I hear something like a phrase someone says, and I just kind of get obsessed with it, then I try to work that into a riff and then try to evolve that into a song. But that takes a minute. I'm constantly changing it. Like if I'm trying to think what I wrote down recently that I heard somebody say that I was like, ooh, that would be a nice lyric.
And then is the plan to put this one out on you've done vinyl, you've done cassette. Is this going to be the CD, or is this going to be vinyl?
That I don't know. I mean, I would love to do vinyl again, but I would love to do like 200 vinyl.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you do lower numbers of units, each record gets a little pricier. Like if you did like 100, I think the last time I looked, it was like each record would cost closer to like $25. But
for your cost, not what you would sell.
Yeah, cost per record would be like 25.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Between 20 and 25. And I've noticed that like when you tell somebody a record is $10 or like $15, they're just like, oh, immediately, yeah, take my money.
I rarely see a record for $10 or $15.
Yeah, after the pandemic, like everything has gone up.
Yeah.
Like I think I found a record for $5.
A new record?
No, it wasn't a new record, but it was a pretty good. It was still sealed. It was it was a Waylon Jennings record,
Nice.
Dream in My Dream. And I was like, $5? Yes, sold.
One of the things from seeing you live that sets your music apart is the presence of flute, and I was just wondering how that choice came about.
That came about. My buddy Ali, I also met at film school, but he also produces and makes his own mixtapes and stuff. And there was one day, spur of the moment, where him and I were recording a song together. Like we went to his friend's house that usually mixes and masters for him, who actually lives, his name is Joel, and he lives maybe a block away from me. So I brought my guitar over. Ali sampled a drum beat, made a drum beat, and then I laid a bass track on it and a little guitar riff. And the following day, Ali was like, I think I'm going to add some flute to it. And my first response was like, flute? Where would you get the flute? What flute are you talking about? And then a couple days later, I get the track with the flute on it, and it blows my mind. I'm like, where did you find this flute? And he goes, no, I just played it. I played the flute. I was like, really? He goes, yeah, man, I was first chair in high school. I knew him for 10 years. I had no idea he played the flute. So on Ghost in the Valley, there's a song where I asked him, hey, I think I would love some flute on it, and recorded the whole track. And then he came in, and I think he did 2 takes, and we just took the first take, and that's what's on the record. And then I asked him, hey, once I got the band and I wanted to start playing live, I asked him, hey, would you be willing to play flute? He's like, absolutely. And we go to rehearsal, and in my head I was thinking flute on the song is Back from the Grave, Back from the Dead. I thought maybe it was he would just play flute on that one song. And I was like, playing flute on one song, that'd be kind of a waste. You're kind of just standing around waiting for that one song. So I didn't really say anything. We just started jamming, and he started playing the flute, and I was like, actually, this flute sounds amazing on everything. And so because of that, I make it a point to record every show that we play, and just kind of it gives it I don't know how to describe it. It gives it kind of a little funkier. It kind of brings the vibe is not, without the flute, it sounds like a bar band. And then with the flute, it gives it this kind of funkier, gives it this funky kind of, I call it stank, kind of gives you that little stank face of, I don't know. I'm not doing a great job of explaining it. It makes you go, oh, that sounds awesome. And then, no one really is used to hearing flute live, so everyone who sees it or hears it is just kind of blown away. That, and with the percussions.
Yeah.
I think those 2 things definitely add a lot of production value.
Is there anything else that you want to talk about, or is there a new riff that you've been working on you want to share?
There was, during the last rehearsal when we were messing around, kind of came up with this riff that I'm kind of trying to figure out where to go. It's Teddy, you want to sing over it? I guess not. So yeah, I don't have any lyrics for it either, but I'll probably take that, bring it to practice, kind of evolve it some more, and then when I'm at home obsessively listen to it over and over again and play over it and find a little lead piece or figure out what kind of how the cadence of how I want to sing it. And then once I find that, then it's the hard part is like finding the lyrics.
Fantastic. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it at one of the next. Do you have any shows? Any shows coming up? You want to plug?
I don't at the moment. I'm hoping, hopefully something for June or July. I definitely want to play outdoors.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, I don't at the moment.
Yeah, outside where people have room to dance and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It was later, 15 years of playing music, I realized, like, nah, you want people to dance. You want people to have fun.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what my goal is now with all this, the last 2 albums and this new stuff is we want people to dance and have a great time.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you so much, Kyle Spleiss, for being the guinea pig, being on the first episode of Dogs Run
thank you
Free.
for having me. Hopefully I didn't put too many people to sleep. Teddy, you going to say bye?
There you have it. All right. Thank you guys for listening,
Thank
and we'll talk to you soon.